Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is my first video walkthrough. Call it a walkthrough and not a tutorial because I'm not really teaching anything in particular. I'm just kind of going over my workflow and my process. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave those down below and I will do my best to answer them all or answer them in future videos. This is an illustration that I did in a live stream the other day. And if you're unfamiliar with my live streams, I do live streams every Saturday and Wednesday on Twitch. So you're more than welcome to come join us, where I'll just a bunch of weirdos and talk about whatever, art stuff or life stuff. Sometimes we have some very deep conversations there. So I wanted to create a third piece to go with the pieces on the left, the two previous elf girls that I drew sometime last year, I believe. And I wanted to make a third girl to go with them because I feel like a series isn't complete with only 2 illustrations. I felt like it needed a third, at least. So I already had a sad girl, and then I had a sassy girl. So I needed one that was kind of in between the both of them. And this was just kind of where I had an image in my head, and it's kind of hard to explain where it came from. It's just what I find visually pleasing and what I love to paint and draw. But it was a girl facing forward, so she would be a nice complementary piece to both of the girls. As you can see here, one is on the left and one is on the right, and so I felt like in order to make a nice series, having one in the middle would complement them really well, facing forward. So I went ahead with that, and in my head she was more of a Serene character than an extreme character like the sad one or the sassy one. And I thought that having a more serene, kind of wise feeling character would be a nice balance to them as well. So that's where her design came from. And the 2 girls on the left are, I started with the lower one in the lower left-hand corner, the sad girl, the sad elfie, just kind of a test and for fun. If you know me, you know I love my elf girls. So yeah, she was just kind of a fun, kind of an exercise, and then I ended up doing the girl on the top left that long after because I wanted to play with the rendering style again, which is kind of this like painted but line arted look, and I really had fun rendering both of them because I love doing line art but I also love painting, and I wanted to be able to incorporate both of them together because the process of creating line art and then creating color after that becomes kind of stale. At least to me it did. And so that was my initial thought process, but as I created the second one, I wanted to create a different character than the first girl, but still make sure they felt like they were from within the same realm or the same world. So the style is similar, but their features are different, very different from each other. So I wanted to apply the same idea to this girl. I wanted her to be different than both of the girls on the left, but still have the same feel and have the same similar features. So I started with just sketching, quite obviously, and then under that and on top of that I just add some quick colors so I know what it is that I'm doing and where I want to go with the piece. When I was applying color, I made sure to let the background color peek through the colors that I was overlaying for her, just so she can feel like when I start rendering, she's still part of the background, so that those colors kind of bleed through and are incorporated. Like, I want to make sure that I incorporate the green, overall green tone into the entire piece, so she feels like she's in the world. I use the term world lightly. The green background. I still want her to feel like she's in that green background, if that makes sense. So I want the colors to be reflected all around her. So after I finish applying just really rough colors, then I start to, I merge everything onto one layer and I just start painting and I start rendering. I prefer to, when I'm rendering, to just paint on one layer for a couple different reasons. One, because it's much easier for my brain to process. I get too confused with too many layers. And then another reason is it's a lot easier to blend and just paint everything, because you can just color drop and paint and color drop and paint, and you blend and paint. I'm basically, for the rendering, only using one brush for this whole thing, which is just a basic round Photoshop brush with both opacity and the tablet, whatever. You can see it on the top. I'm not exactly sure what they're called off the top of my head. But both of those are pressed down so that the tablet is providing pen pressure. I don't have the brush set to change in size. It basically stays the same size no matter what pressure I'm pushing. And then opacity. So that way, depending on how hard I push down, depends on how thick the color is applied. So kind of like real paint. And then I use the smudge brush very rarely, but it helps to give those really smooth transitions. I really enjoy painting in Photoshop because I feel like it has kind of a, I've tried to explain this before, but like a clunkier feel than if you're painting in something like Manga Studio. Manga Studio is very soft and smooth and watery, where Photoshop to me it feels more opaque. I just feel like I have more control, and I really like that. It kind of has more of a matte feel. When I'm painting, I don't like to clean it up totally. Like, I like to make sure that there are brush strokes in there, because I want it to kind of have a traditional feel, even though it's digital. And I tend to, when I'm rendering, I render the area of focus most. So, like, I want people to pay attention to the faces most of the time. So I render the faces more than I would render the body. I focus mainly on the face because that's where I want people to focus. I had some people ask me in the stream why she was shirtless. And there's actually a reason for that. So the two girls on the left, both of their necks are bare, and then their chests are covered, which I don't think I did that I might have done it intentionally. Like, I might have originally done it just because I wanted the main focus to be their faces and not so much their clothes or what they were wearing. But with this piece, I kind of thought about that a little more, and I thought it was interesting that both of those girls, they had their necks bare, but their torsos were covered. And so I thought it would be complimentary for her to be the opposite. So her neck is covered, but her chest is bare. I hesitated on it at first just because I know that people are kind of like, oh, boobies, it always has to have such a sexual, like, it always has to be sexualized. But I'm kind of for the whole, like, hashtag free the nipple movement. But I also believe in being conservative. So, like, I don't want to push those kind of thoughts on my viewers. Like, I don't want to shove it down their throats by always drawing boobs. So I thought it would be nice to just kind of hint at them and, like, ease people into the idea of being more comfortable with the female body. Just like, I feel like bodies in general, we worry so much about what they look like or what you're seeing, and it's just not that important. Like, we all have bodies, we all have these weird features. They're weird. Human beings are weird. So I don't see what there is to be afraid of or ashamed of. And I also feel like the more we expose ourselves to these kind of things, the less sexualized it will become. Because, like, a lot of people see female boobs, whatevs, in a very sexualized manner. And I don't want my art, like, I have nothing against people that do, like, overly sexualized art. Like, props to them. Just, it's not my thing personally, so that's why I try and, like, hint at it or do it in a more conservative manner. But I still want it to be there because I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Sorry, that went on forever. But I warned you guys about that. I also thought about character in that sense, whereas both of the other girls are, one is sassy and she appears confident, and the other is like super nervous and she appears very unconfident, very shy, and very reserved. And I wanted this girl kind of to be a balance to both of those, where she's very in tune with herself and she's very in control of her emotions, because I feel like both of the other girls are not. They let their emotions control them. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but yeah, I wanted this girl to be in control and like the wisest of the three, even though she looks the most immature. Like, I wanted her to have a sweet and an innocent look to her, but somehow display that she's more mature than both of them. Hence, she's totally comfortable and confident in her body to not wear a shirt, whereas the other two still feel like they need to cover themselves. So much thought process for something that nobody probably cares about from me, but I thought it was an interesting question. So just more rendering forever, adding in all the details, painting flowers, and rendering her mouth and her eyes. And again, I work on her face probably 95% of the time out of this whole piece, but that's my favorite part to work on, so. And then you get to, once everything is all rendered, it's just finishing touches. So again, I wanted her to match the other girl, so I gave her the like little slit eyes. I think originally the original idea for the first girl was she was like some sort of dragon elf kind of thing, so I just went with it. And then after rendering, it's time for final color adjustments. And you'll see with this piece a lot of the time I will make a layer and do like overlay colors or adjust the colors, and then I just don't like it as much as I liked the original, which I think is fine. Like, I always feel like when I'm done with a piece, it needs color adjustment most of the time, and I always color adjust, but every now and then I'll get one where the color adjustment just doesn't make it any better in my eyes. Like, I'm just very attached to and happy with the original, which I don't know if that's always a good thing, but so, oh, and then after I didn't color adjust really anything, I was unhappy with her hand, her right hand, or I guess it would be her left hand. No, it's her right hand. Don't lie to my brain malfunctioning. I felt like it looked too much like she was crossing her arms, so she was like giving some tude, and I didn't want her to be displaying that at all. I really wanted her to just be kind of gracefully like, oh ho ho, you can't see everything, but it's here. So I unclenched that hand of hers and just kind of had it like gracefully falling there, just so it looked less intentional, like she was purposely crossing her arms. And then final adjustments is just adding a little depth of field blur to give her a little more depth. And if you can tell, layer masks are my best friend. So you can see my process isn't super complex, but I hope this gave you some insight as to how I go about my illustrations and designing my characters and stuff like that. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them down below, or shoot me a tweet, or go to my Ask FM, whatever you floats your boat. I love hearing from you guys. Please let me know how you liked this, if you liked the voiceover, and what you would like to see more in the future. Again, you can find links to all my social media stuff down below, my Twitch stream if you want to watch these live, my Patreon where you can support me so I can continue making illustrations and videos like these and doing Twitch streams and make books and stuff with my art on them. I have lots of new stuff planned, super excited. Thank you guys for being so supportive already. And I will catch you guys in my next video. Bye!